You're very welcome to this edition of Soundshack49. It's good to talk. Tonight we have a very special guest in with us, folks, Mr. Kevin Keys, a well-renowned, well-respected figure in the Irish motorbike racing scene. Kevin tells us about the time he decided to climb off a motorbike at 150 miles an hour. What that was like. You have to hang around and listen to that. Getting the tap on the shoulder to head down Bray Hill in the Isle of Man TT and everything that goes along with the motorbike scene and being a motorbike racer today. Folks, the first thing I asked Kevin was, what was it like when you first went to the island? Hang around for this one, folks. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you on the other side.
Oh, it was my first time to see the island in its flesh. Going over for a lap in the car 3 months before I sat down Bray Hill for real thing. So yeah, no, I don't know. Probably a midlife crisis, I would say.
Yeah, it's a good midlife crisis.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my view, lots of people will go, you're mental, but I sort of understand a bit about it. But motorbikes, when they're in your blood, they're in your blood. But the island is a special place. I was there when you were come over. You won as a newcomer. You did very well. I seen you at the Northwest. I think it was your first one, wasn't
it? My very first road was Wallerstown in 2022.
Wallerstown.
And then we went from there. I didn't do any roads then to 2024, and then doing Cookstown, Northwest, and TT.
Yeah.
And then this year, then we done whatever was going. We done the Cookstown, Northwest, TT, Stutter 100, Armine, Tangier.
Yeah, so like it's a big season, a lot smaller than it used to be. I'm sure you remember back in the day. You know, we had Cal's, Skerries, you had Wallerstown was there. I think Skerries now it's like a sprint thing or something. I don't know. Did it happen this year? No, last year it did. All right.
No, they didn't get to run the sprint this year, so instead we done a charity cricket match instead this year.
Brilliant. Oh, cricket.
But yeah. But no, unfortunately, the insurance issue is ongoing at the minute, has put a halt to the road race scene and short circuit scene here in Ireland, to be honest. So it's a pity, but there's good, strong rumours that there's a quote in place and there is maybe something going to happen coming into 2026. So yeah, everything crossed that happens and we get some more road racing down south.
It's a huge industry. It's a huge business. But then again, it is, dangerous. We'll get into that in a bit. But I had to just talk about the Isle of Man. We will get to it in a few minutes. You started racing very early. Like you were very young when you started. It wasn't like 19 or 20 or 21 like everybody else. But you were early.
Yeah, so the first real introduction to a motorbike itself was a Yamaha PW50 at 2 years and 9 months old. My dad set me off on that, and just really there was no ambition to make me a motorbike racer or even to race. I don't think your dad just bought me it because he was really into bikes. I had an interest in them, and he got me it. We got riding around on that. Never raced it, and then coming up towards I'm going to be 5 or turning 6. We started motorbike racing, but that happened by accident, to be honest. My dad seen on the buy and sell the bike, bike magazine used to sell bikes on. Yeah, there was some guys, I think in Lucan actually, selling a mini moto. My dad didn't know what this thing was. It was a small bike with fairings and looked like a motorbike that he'd ride on the road. So he went and bought it, and he brought me to Appy Karting Track to give me a spin on it, and just in the window of the Appy Karting register place, there was a sign saying the Irish Minibike Championship had been there the weekend before. So my dad rang the phone number, seeing what the crack was. The next round was in Nuts Corner, and said what age it has to be. I was 6 at the time. Your man said 7. He said, yeah, he's gone 7. So yeah, we rocked up the Nuts Corner. I think I finished 7th in my first race, and yeah, the dream started then.
Brilliant. And then you came down to Mondello, and which is more local for you, a bit handier than Nuts Corner. Yeah, down the road. So like back then there was I think it was the 125, wasn't it? 2.
Yeah. So I started Mondello on an Aprilia RS125 and went from that, won the championship there, and the production 125, went to a Hyundai RS125 GP then, the Grand Prix class. I won that. Then we went 600s, then we went to BSB. Then we came back to Ireland and done a bit more British stuff in the roads.
Brilliant. And you're a double champion. as well.
Yeah, that was nice. Nice to do the double in one season as well. You know, the two premier classes of the championship, the super sport class and the superbike class, which was hard fought that season. Yeah, we managed to wrap up the double that year, which was
Yeah,
quite
but
cool. I don't think it's been done.
no, it's never. I don't think it has been done. Now we may be corrected, but listen,
Yeah,
for at the minute for but folks, it was a near miss. You had a bit of an off that could have put a stop to it for the double.
yeah, absolutely. You know, we went into the Saturday, you know, quite strong. Had a good test on Friday. Qualified for the Superbike race and Super Sport. I think it was pole for both of them. So yeah, it started off as a dream. And Super Sport was really, really tight that weekend. The championship was going down to the last race, whether I liked it or not. I actually think I went into the championship last round of the championship in second place for coming back from fourth. I had a bit of a bad 2 rounds, but yeah, so that was going to have to fight for Super Sport. Superbike, all I had to do was finish the first race and I was champion. Simple as that. So my focus was just get the race over and done with, and fight for Super Sport all weekend. And yeah, it didn't really work out to the plan. You know, I think 3 laps in the Superbike race, Emmett was leading, Emmett O'Grady, Derek Shields was second, and I was just sitting nice and comfortable in third. Had no intentions of really getting in the mix in case of a crash.
Yeah.
Coming into the first corner into Mondello, you know, it's quite a fast corner when you're traveling at speed. Went to pull the brake and yeah, nothing, straight to the bar. Gave another quick squeeze straight to the bar, so I had to grab the back brake and hope for the best. Just barely missed Emmett. I clipped Derek's arm on the way by him, and yeah, had a big smash into turn one then, which could have potentially ruined the whole weekend. Lost both championships, but no, fair play to the Derek team. They pulled the stops out, got the R1 back in action. And thank God for Nurofen, and that got me back in action.
Yeah, Nurofen got you back. Just to let the people know, you were coming down the main straight. You weren't. It wasn't. You were a little bit over the speed limit.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
you're
you know,
probably. What would you be up? 150, 160 around that? Probably something
yeah,
close to that.
probably the approach of turn one on a superbike, you know, travel and good exit out last corner. You're probably reaching them 150 mile an hour coming at the bridge. Yeah, it was a speedy get off.
Yeah. So, and normally best thing is just to get off the bike, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, you know, I to be honest, that'd be the ideal situation. It's just bail, but I couldn't just bail. You know, I'd Emmett O'Grady coming towards the apex. That Derek Shields just about to peel in. If I let that bike go on its own, it could have been a really, really big mess. You know, it could have really, really hurt one of the lads, or worse. You know, a bike coming at that rate of knots, 160 kilo bike coming at 150 mile an hour wouldn't be nice. So I had to try and stay on as long as I could, dragging the back brake, trying to steer my way past the boys without eventually hurting anyone. And yeah, got by 2 of them thankfully, and I clipped the curb on the inside of the corner, which in 10 then flipped me off it. I went down, smashed my helmet and everything. My helmet cracked, got a crack in the lid. So big impact I took that weekend. Body was a little bit shaken up too, but look, these things happen.
And then the way bike racers do, because you're a hardy bunch. You're back in. As you said, your sponsor, Daragor, who are, you know, they're doing Trojan work behind the scenes for you, you know.
Absolutely, you know, like we had I just barely made Super Sport race after. I think there was 2 races to go. I was brought to medical centre for assessing, you know, and I had to just keep telling, yeah, I'm grand, get me out as quick as I could. Yeah, 40 minutes later, we went out to Super Sport, and yeah, backed into Nurofen, killed the pain, relief, and the adrenaline kicked in then, and yeah, we ended up winning Super Sport race the Saturday.
Yeah, it was a brilliant end to the weekend, because like around the paddock, you know, I do a lot of walking around one day when I'm there. I like seeing everything, and you know, oh no way, you're not coming back after that, and that's it.
Yeah,
the main talk around it. So it was great to see you up on the podium at the end.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it was fabulous. So it was a great weekend all around, yeah. And the weather was a bit in and out as well that weekend. There was showers, and then there wasn't, but it came good at the end. It's like it was
good. It was one of them tricky weekends. You know, I try and call tire choices and make sure you're in the right place at the right time, and you know, try and stay on as well as right to 110%. You know, I think me and Oisin, which were battling for the championship, Emmett was there as well, but I think me and Oisin were like 0.1, 0.2 off lap record every single lap. It was intense. Like there was no let up.
Yeah, it was It was such a good weekend. You're speaking about tire choices, just to let people know, like there's different types of tires out there, folks. So you would probably bring the slicks, which are nothing on them, you know.
Yeah.
You have your wets, and then you have your intermediates. So would there be they be the three choices, or would you have any softs as well?
Yeah, you know, your three basically main tires, your slick, your intermediate, and wet, as you've said, and then you know there's compound choices for each of them. So there's hard, soft, and medium as well. Basically, I'd like a nice squishy front end, just so I know what I'm feeling. So I'd always run a softer front, and depending on the day, if it's a really cold day, I'd probably run a soft just to get a little bit more feel off the rear. If it's a normal day, nice humid day, they're looking for longevity, you'd probably go a medium, you know, so you're not spinning up and losing too much traction towards the end of a race. So, yeah, normally you wouldn't really choose hard unless you were like Spain or somewhere really, really hot where
Yeah.
the hard's going to work. So, yeah, basically that's the way it works.
And this was after you had a busy year.
Yeah.
This was 24, right? I think it's 24. She's getting me dates wrong. 24. So you started on the roads that season.
We did too, yeah.
So you were out on the road as well as doing the championship. So like every weekend you were nearly. I was saying you have a young family, but you were more or less gone every weekend.
Yeah, no, it was busy, you know, and I'm lucky to have a good partner behind me, Sarah, which supports the career I choose very well. You know, she and the kids come everywhere I go, so yeah, it's nice to have that as well. And yeah, of course, it was a busy season. You know, going to the roads was a bit new. It was definitely all new to me, so new emotions, new everything else. But again, like for Sarah too, she was quite worried. You know, she obviously been around racing with me now. We're together 9 years, so she knows the crack. She knows what's involved. She knows the consequences that come with the roads. But look, it's a lifestyle. You know, you do one.
Would it be much of a conversation in the house? The roads a different kettle of fish, really.
Yeah, you know, like even at home, like away from Sarah, when my mother and father, you know, they always try to steer me away from the roads. My mother never wants me doing them, but you know, I got to the stage now where I'm big and bold enough to make my own decisions. I have lucky enough to have Dark Core behind me and sponsors behind me that I basically funding my own thing now, and just got to the opportunity now that my career always was faced towards BSB and getting to the British Championship, and I got there and I loved it, and that's where I wanted to stay. But unfortunately, financially, I couldn't stay there. It was just so dear. Like everything was so expensive, and it was putting strains at home. It was putting financial strains at home. Things were not getting paid on time, and you were always sweating where the next bill was going to be paid. And that's why I had to stop BSB in 2022. And to be honest, I'd never ever had any interest in road racing up until 2022. And when I came back from BSB after giving it up after the third round, Milestone was actually coming on 2 weekends later, and I just said, look, I had my own ZX6 from the 2019 and 2020 season. My dad never sold the bike, so I said to my dad, look, I'm going to do Walterstown in 2 weeks' time. And he was like, oh, why? Like, you know, what are you doing? And I was like, gosh, just a bit of crack. I'd love to do it. I want to do a road. I want to say I've done it and that's it. And just do a road race. And he was like, right, well, there's no budget to do it. And I was like, well, I'll find a way to do it. So my mate Ben Falco, BF Carpentry, he sponsored me my entry. Another friend gave me a set of tires, and another fella bought me a drum of fuel, and literally that was it. You know, I'd no van. So another friend of mine again, John, who owns Leinster Commercials in Eden area, I rang him and said, look, any vans there you can give me for a weekend, and just literally rocked up. Threw a 24 MX tent up in the middle of Walterstown, went out, had the crack, won the 2 races that weekend as a newcomer. And that was supposed to be it. I was supposed to never road a race again after that. And what happened then.
I love hearing stories like that because, you know, that's when I what I love about it. It's like, I remember back in, the early 80s, I don't look that old, Kev, but I am. But I remember going seeing Joey, and people always say, oh, Joey, but I remember saying that, but he had an old Transit, and he was
Yeah,
in Skerries, I seen him up at the Ulster Grand Prix, but he just had a Transit, two bikes in the back of it.
that's it,
And that was it in the wheel about. He was fixing them himself. He was doing it. You had Ryan Farquhar, Philip McCallan, these guys as well. You had some of the
Class
other lads
men.
coming in, the likes of Foggy and them coming in. They'd have a bit of stuff behind them, but
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. You can really, Walderstown is really sort of that type of race. You're in a grass field.
yeah,
When you're moving up to the bigger end of it, which we'll get on to now, would be sort of the northwest, is where you're coming up
yeah,
nearly at the level where you're going on to the TT. You have
of course.
your big boys in, and it's a different,
It is
isn't it,
different.
Kevin? It's like seeing someone like John McGuinness rolling up, like his camper or his
It's
motorhome.
crazy. Yeah,
You
it's
know, it's
crazy.
yeah, it's a different, like it's really, you're going into the BSB type of stuff, like
Yeah,
McCann's, Yamaha.
you're gone from rusty old sprinters and ripped tents to 40-foot Arctics with massive tents
Yeah,
outside them. Yeah.
it's so simple. So you went up to the northwest. I remember, guys, seeing you racing up there. It was a beautiful day. A
Oh,
beautiful
glorious.
weekend. Yeah, it was fabulous. Massive crowd. I don't know.
Huge.
I never seen a crowd like it before. You did. You held your own.
Yeah, yeah. So, no, it was good. I really enjoyed the Northwest. It's one of them ones you can sort of relay it back to a short circuit, kind of a scratcher area. Not that there's any room for error, but it looks like it, so you can push on that a little bit more. Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed the Northwest, and it was a good introduction to a national or international road race event prior TT. Yeah, to be honest, I just soaked it all up because it was surreal being there. I've been there years before with Michael Sweeney, giving him a dig out, pulling his trolley through and getting his bikes up to scrutiny for him and basically being on the other side of the footpath. But yeah, the setup in the grid there, and look beside you, and there's Connor Cummins sitting there, there's Davy Todd, there's Hickey, there's Blake McGuinness, Dean Harrison. You're just a normal lad working your day job from the bog, and you're sitting in between these lads thinking, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah,
But it's
because like
class.
them boys are quick.
Yeah, yeah, they're no mean feat. Like, they're
No,
that's what they live off. Their jobs. So
that's
yeah,
their
no, it's
job.
cool.
That's their bread and butter. It's
Yeah,
like it's like follow football League of Ireland. Compared to the Premiership. The guys are
yeah.
out. A lot of them are working as well. But yeah, so that was the eye opener then, and then we headed over to the island, and the weather wasn't great for you, to be honest. The year before I was over there, the weather was like the northwest. We had a few nice days, a few wet days.
Hmm.
What's you're getting ready to go out, and next minute Gary will pull the plug. It's
Yeah,
what does that
that
feel like?
that's nerve-wracking, to be honest. Like, because it's nerve-wracking, but I guess, as I said, people, it's mentally draining too. It actually makes you tired and more happens, like, because you're sitting there. You have to remember, like, you're getting your body prepared to go out and do 37 and a quarter mile as fast as you can. And for the legs of the superbike at the end of the week, it's 6 laps, or a super sport is 4 laps. It's a long time to be sitting there, and you're trying to get yourself psyched up, and then you get told it's cancelled or it's put off or there's a delay, and then like it's a big they go, oh, drop off. But no, it's something else. Like, get there, getting to the Isle of Man, and just being amongst the best at the best event in the world. Like, it's quite surreal too.
Unless you've been, it's hard to explain, isn't it?
Yeah, even me going as a rider for my first year, that had people never realised that was my first ever time to actually see a motorbike at a TT. I'd never been to the Isle of Man until the January prior May, and yeah, it's madness. Like,
And
to
you would have done a few laps in the car. You probably arrived a week early. You probably arrived even a few days before practice week, did you? Or what way did
yes,
that work?
the way it worked was the way it actually worked was, and how it happened was, I actually originally applied to do the Manx Grand Prix
Yeah.
and submit my entry to it and see if I got accepted. Obviously, there's an application basically, and you have to be accepted. No, you can't just rock up and do a Manx. And same as a TT, you can't just put an entry in and say, all right, I'm going to race TT this year. So I put my entry in to do the Manx, which is the TT course. like a stepping stone for newcomer riders who want to get to a TT. And I got a phone call then from an English number one day. I didn't know who it was. Answered it, and it was Paul Phillips, basically the head man of the TT. A quick chat, and he goes to see you at the Manx, and I was like saying, yeah, thinking this was the phone call, say you didn't get accepted or something, because I had no road race experience. And he said, yeah. He says, how would you feel about like going to the TT? And I was like, I don't know. And he goes, I'll just have a quick think, mate. He said, there's an invitation to come to TT, and I was like, wow, so like, what's going on here? Remember, I was working with my dad. Me and my dad were just we were actually plastering a house Sunday, and just said to him, I'm just off getting an invitation to go to the Isle of Man. And he goes, what do you mean? And I says, like, just thought you were doing the Manx. And I says, yes, so did I. Not getting buses after ring me to see that I want to go to TT. So I've been riding for Darport at this stage, and I rang Keith and Brian, and I basically told them what the crack was, and they were buzzing. They were like, oh, definitely, yeah, definitely just take it, If I wanted to do it, I was like, yeah, right, what, fuck it, we'll do it. And rang Paul back and organised a trip over to meet him and do a few laps with Milky Quayle and Johnny Barton in a van.
Milky's unbelievable, isn't he?
Oh, Jesus. The first lap I done at Milky, I remember I met him at the grandstand and put me into his van, and man, he was talking a million miles an hour, and I was like, fuck, this fella buzzing, Brought me for a lap, and he told me everything. Like, I was like, how is he so much knowledge? He knows everything. He can tell you if there was a stone out of place in the park.
It's isn't it? Now I've seen you going by, because I do marshal there, so I seen you. We were up at, near Union Mills, but there was a few. You had your orange bib on.
I did.
I have actually a few nice photos. I must send them to you. What's happened to you?
100%.
But you weren't hanging around. I've been keeping an eye over. I like Irish racers. Anybody coming over from here, I'm always keeping an eye out for them. So then during the week,
yeah,
Milky doesn't wait around. You either stick with him or you don't. And I think
absolutely not. Yeah, because I remember like my first lap at Milky, and I was like thinking, like, traveling marshal, well, hang on, this is going to be kind of a boring spin, because you normally get up the arse from traveling marshal, and I was completely wrong. Milky took off, and I was like, where the fuck's this guy going? I was like, what the fuck's going on? I think we got to Kirkmichael, and I couldn't see him, and I was like, where the fuck? What do I do here? Like, and I don't. I to be honest, I got a bit of stage fright for my very first lap and my newcomer lap, and I remember coming back to the pits and said to my dad and Colin. My dad was with me in my pits, and Colin was in my fuel. I said to him, "Boys, this is not for me." He says, "I don't like this. Like, this is madness. This place is mad." And they're like, Colin's from Cork. He's like, "Ah, dude, will you stop by? Go on and do another lap. Go on and fill me up and tap me on." I was like, "Ah, fuck, I have to go again now." But then I just bedded in, and I just started really trying to relax. TT is so welcoming and so friendly to newcomers to really make your first experience.
It's brilliant.
A really good one. And I remember Milky coming up to me, and he goes, "Mate," he says, "what happened?" He says, "I've never seen you like this." And bear in mind, Milky had I'd done what, sometimes 3 trips a month, but nearly every month from January. I'd done about 9 trips to the Isle of Man. And I got really, really good friends with Milky Quayle, to the fact that I used to give him a text up and down and ask him different things. He was like, "Mate, what's wrong?" He says, "You're normally so chilled out. You're normally a happy-go-lucky kid. What's going on?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, I've just froze." And he said, "I've seen it." He said, "I could see it in your eyes before we even took off." He says, "To be honest, I'm a little bit worried." He said, like, "Is this for you?" And I was like, "Just need to relax." He brought me and seen a girl. Orcs is a new thing at the TT now. So basically, I had riders talk, and she gave me these exercises of breathing exercises. I just started to relax, and once that happened, then I started accepting the fact that, like, just to relax, take it all in, enjoy it. And one thing Milton said to me is, you'll never get to do your first TT ever again, so just enjoy it, like,
Yeah, it's a massive thing. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the Northwest is like a mass start. The TT is, you have your 10 seconds, so you're pulling up then. So the first race, right?
Yeah,
you're up. It's sort of practice week, your first practice. You get that, that tip on the shoulder, the countdown. The stage is set. You're going under the arches. You've done all that. Now you're coming into race. You get that. The crowd is massive.
Mental.
The last few years, the TT has just gone through the roof. People
huge,
everywhere. But you get that tip on the shoulder. What was that like, your first race?
Yeah, that was by the first race came, I was sort of relaxed and ready for it. You know, I was like, this is it now. I get this tapping on my TT road racer, you know, sort of ways. Yeah, it was surreal, you know, getting that tap and heading off and getting around and getting the checker flag and getting in after doing your first race was like amazing, you know, a smile from ear to ear. And it was just one of them pinch me moments. So I've just done a TT.
Yeah,
You know, you
you've
hear
done.
all these talks like, yeah, you've done a TT. If you ever even talk to somebody like, you know, I raced motorbikes, oh, do you? Yeah, you do the TT. And before that, I
Yeah,
got off said, no, I never done TT before. They're like, all right, what do you do then? They're like, race
yeah,
for the
you'd
championship. And
know.
they're like, oh, what's that? You know, but everybody knows what the TT is.
But you've done it twice now.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely.
Your season now, and the other thing as well is just for the punters out there, Kevin. Sorry, it's just so the whole pits. It's not like the MotoGP, which I've been to a few. It's not like the Superbikes. It's not like the British Superbikes, the World Superbikes. Not like the pits are there. You can walk around. So you had your
Absolutely.
tent. I think in the first year you were on the second sort of down. You
Yeah,
were down.
we were
Yeah.
down the back, yeah.
Yeah, I went down. I never got a coffee with the way I called twice, but anyway,
Mm.
never mind about that. We'll argue about that another day. The lads are working on your bike. I think you're in this area, sort of a little bit quieter area, but you know, there's still a lot of people going by. There's literally, you're working on your bike. You're trying to talk to your crew. It's, you know, Gary has said it's got to be, you know, it's going to be delayed 20 minutes. You're trying to get your bike ready. We spoke about in the short circuits, the tire choices. The TT's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, yeah,
Your
it is
tires there is.
so basically, yeah, so TT again, like, you know, like at the Isle of Man TT, they don't run if it's damp or wet. So that takes guessing work out over then, you know, if it's damp or wet, you're not going, Gary calls that. So it's just slicks. So basically the way I ran my tire choices was just be whatever I was familiar with, you know. I didn't want to go experimenting too much at the TT, being the first one. I just wanted to
Yeah,
go with familiarity. So I just went with I actually went soft, ran a soft front, soft
okay,
rear, just for more confidence, really, edge grip wise and stuff. But obviously, yeah, road race tire is different than a circuit tire. I'm not sure if you knew that, but basically, the way the road race tires developed is your edges are as a circuit is quite soft, but from your center to sort of halfway before it gets to the edge is a hard compound. So
yeah,
basically, it's like a dual compound tire. If you're running a soft, you basically have your soft edges, but the middle of the tire, the center, is a hard compound, basically for to take the top speed. Like, I don't know if you've seen a couple of years back at the Northwest, the tires
yeah,
delaminating and stuff. It was basically because the center carcasses, I think, is what they figured out was running a soft compound, stem excess speeds for so long that such a heated tire exploded. It wasn't able for it. So yeah,
yeah.
basically we run the
So,
road race tire, and that's how that works.
so like a lot of the times, the lap records, it says you have this particular year you were there, you had Michael and Hickey, the two of them were,
Yeah.
you know, taken out. Michael got he got the 600s, he got the lap record. So you're up in the 130. So just to give you an idea, folks, it's 37 and a bit miles. To give you the average speed is over 130 miles an hour. So that's what they're talking about, the speeds. The record now is 130. Jesus, should know that.
133, I think, isn't it?
133.66 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So Hickey has it. So you're talking about your tires. You're going up over the mountain, so you need your tires right. You know, you need everything right. So this is the work that goes in that you guys, Daracor, do behind the scenes. Your
Hmm.
pit crew, you have your guys. Then when you come into the pit, so on the bigger probably the six lapper,
Yeah, six lapper you do too. So obviously you
32.
set off with your full tank. You come back in after 2 laps for another refill. Then you go off, you do another 2 laps, and you come in and normally do a tire change and another refill, and that'll finish you out then
Yeah.
your last 2 laps.
So your last 2 laps, yeah. So
Yeah.
your crew have to be on the ball. You could many a race on the island has been won and lost in with
Oh,
the stops.
100%, 100%,
So
yeah.
yeah, the first year you were there, Michael had the trouble with his visor.
Yeah, he's came off just as he took out the pit lane, and it wasn't clipped in right. So
He was happy about that,
he
wasn't he? He was very happy about
oh,
that.
I'd say he was. I'd
Well,
say,
Kevin, you'll be sick yourself. You'll be,
oh, of course you would. Like, in
it's,
his position, 30 odd second lead, 25 grand prize money at the end of that race,
yeah,
like bonus money from sponsors. That could have been easily a 35 grand win for him. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
oh, and it's then the record of another TT win. So, that'd be, I don't know. God love that
Everybody's
fella.
happy for him.
God love that fella who'd put that visor on wrong, because I'd
Yeah,
say he
because
wasn't a very welcomed man again.
no, I don't think Michael minces his words. But then again, it's a mistake. That's the thing.
That's
It's
it.
the
Look,
human
shit
aspect of it.
happens, like what people have to remember there. It's not as simple as pulling up to a fuel pump, getting fuel, getting tires on, and going again. These guys are under immense pressure. It's like the Michael Dunlop there. He's 25 seconds in the lead of a Superbike race at Isleman TT. That's massive, for manufacture, for the helmet brand, for Michael himself, for everything, and they're trying to get that pit stop done as fast as they can, get his back wheel in, get his back wheel safe, get him brimmed with fuel, get him a new visor on. Like, I don't even know how to explain to someone, like, basically to a normal person, go in and perform heart surgery and don't fuck up. That's a
It, it,
pit
it,
stop.
it, there's massive pressure. Like you were saying, you did it for. You did it up the northwest. You were there, so you seen it. You seen the thing. But now you're a racer yourself. Your crew, you have to have massive confidence in them, because
Every
you're
day,
going around like I do
your
always.
life,
I do always.
your life
Yeah,
is in their hands.
yeah,
Your
exactly.
life is in their hands. Yeah.
Especially in a certain Carramore up around that area. I was there marshalling there this year at Carramore, and when Hickey had his
It's off.
yeah, the bit off, he's off. So we were there, like, it was just, we literally, we were the next crew up. So we seen him coming off. We had the flags out and everything like that. Marshalling then in the island is a massive undertaking itself. Without the guys that are all volunteers, we all go over, take a time over our holidays or whatever, go over, do it for the
Yeah.
love of the racing. And that's why, as well, we want to make it safe. So it's becoming, and that's what Gary there, the clerk of the course, he has a massive undertaking as well.
All massive, and he's doing an exceptional job. Like, I wouldn't want the pressure Gary has, especially this year. Like, he had to call off the senior TT, the one everybody wants,
Yeah,
and
everybody wants.
fair play. It was the right decision, I have to say.
So, in your view, was it? That's what I was getting to. What did you think of that? Like,
Yeah, definitely. I kind of knew in my own heart and soul that it wasn't going to happen. I remember sitting down, it's like we were dragged out something like 5 o'clock that day, where our race was supposed to be like 11:40, and like it wasn't getting better. And I remember they called the sighting lap, a 1 lap sighting lap, and I remember the boy said to me, "You going?" I said, "No, I'm not going." Just like, it's just too blustery. You're in a hole in the paddock. Never mind when you get to the mountain. We experienced some winds throughout the week in the mountain. Like, coming up to Brandywell there and stuff, I had a couple of sharp gusts pull you. Just once you come out of that little right to start heading left to Brandywell, like, I was getting that big gust there, and I was like, wasn't even a bad day. So I didn't do the newcomer, or I didn't do the outlap to see what the circuit was like before the senior, but I came in, and the facial expressions of like McGuinness and Todd and Hickman wasn't there, sorry, like to James Hillier and Dave Johnson and all. You could tell
and
out.
Kevin, these guys are seasoned pros.
Absolutely, yeah.
When you hear guys like Davey, and when you hear John speaking about this,
Yeah.
and just for the people watching at home, the mountain, when you get up, there's actually a corner called Windy Corner on it, but it is unbelievable. Like, I went across it hundreds of times on a bike, and I wouldn't be traveling near the speed you're doing, and it just comes across, but it literally take you off the edge.
It could easy, like, rule number one coming to Windy Corner is, for me, it definitely is, the minute I come out of that left heading towards Windy, I just look for that windsock to see what way the wind's going, because that tells you everything, what position to be on circuit. But yeah, no, absolutely, you're right. Like, the wind, like the first person I looked for coming in was all the top guys, see what their expressions was. And like, even Michael, like, he came in and he was shaking his head to his boys, and you could see his hand movements and the shoulders going, so you knew he was talking bad. I just went up and I seen Davey, like, I'm friendly with Davey. I've done stock six with him. I've good relationship with Davey, so I can speak to him. And I said, "What do you think, mate?" And he goes, "Oh man," he says, "the worst I've ever seen."
Yeah.
He said, like, I came down, he says, even down coming off down Bray Hill, he says, normally the wind catches you from this side, which helps you back to the left. He says this time, he says the wind was coming from the left and he couldn't get back to the left as it was blowing us into the curb. So I was like, wow, that's nuts. And he was like, he said it wasn't too bad till you get down towards Sulby. He said once you get out of Sulby and start heading towards Ramsey, then he said it started getting gusty again and the climb to the mountain. He said the mountain was not rideable then, you know.
Yeah,
So
but you'd start to feel it going up nearly more or less at the gooseneck. You'd start to feel it. You know,
yeah,
you can feel the change, and because you're climbing fairly rapid.
oh yeah, yeah.
Your sponsors, yeah, you have a lot of sponsors who have stuck with you. You know, as we mentioned, Darracor. These guys, then you have to make that decision. It's the senior TT, the biggest race. So you're making the decision. You know, well, I know Gary made the final decision, but it's that decision. You're not going out. But look at you. You've all that on your plate as well. You've all these guys who are stuck behind you. The sponsor. This is what they want to see. So it's not easy.
No, absolutely. It's not easy. I'm trying to make that decision, you know, like, and a lot of these people have stuck by me years, but I'm just in such a lucky position right now that, like, especially with Darracor Racing, they're such a family orientated team and they're so friendly and like they're so about me. It's not about what happens on track. Obviously, that's important, and you know, I'm representing Darracor's brand when I'm on circuit, and the rest of my sponsors, I'm an ambassador for them. So, but I'm lucky, like, in the sense that I'm not pressurized to do anything. Like the first thing Keith and Brian both said to me, they both literally nearly the exact same time put their arms around me and says, Kev, look, he says, just totally up to you. So you don't want to feel you have to ride. He says, there's no pressure from the team. He says, we're more than happy with how this week has went. We'll put that bike into the van. He said, and we'll go down and have pints. So this has been an amazing week so far.
That's great to have, isn't it?
Yeah. So like that, like straight away is like a lot of weight off a rider's shoulders. Because there's a lot of teams that be shouting and roaring saying, this is senior, you're out, you're going, no matter the weather. If Gary says we're going, you're going, you know, sort of way. And that's a different scale then. But obviously, like, I'm a rider, so when it came to the senior TT, I actually haven't got to do a proper senior yet. You know, my first year, we had weather as well, so our senior was cut to 4 laps. This year, the senior was cancelled again, so I've never got to experience a 6-lap senior TT yet. So
you will, my friends. You
raging.
will.
Yeah, 26 is the year. So, but no, we had a really, really good TT, to be fair.
It was great. It was great.
Up to 125 mile an hour laps, so which I was chuffed about. Thinking in average it was like I think we did 51 seconds faster a lap than it was last year.
Yeah.
So like nearly a minute faster of a lap I did last year, and like I was sort of looking at the scale of things. If I could go 45 seconds quicker next year, I'm up into the 130 mile an hour bracket, which is the bracket everyone wants to get to, you know, the 130 mile an hour lap. But like that's kind of like a year 4 plan for me. If we can get to 130 in year 4, I'd be happy. Next year, I'd love just to get up to the high 120s, and that'd be another dream come true. Yeah, we got the TT, got a replica, actually got recognised by the Isle of Man TT this year, and RST as the Isle of Man TT Star of Tomorrow, which was really, really cool, and that came with actually RST and our ideas for next year. So that's factory kit from support from you know, one of the biggest leading helmet and leather providers in the world.
Well, you can see them all around the TT everywhere you go with RST, you know, going around.
Exactly, you know, and like it was kind of another pinch me moment. You have the official TT guys, Paul Phillips, choosing you as a Star of Tomorrow and giving you this award, saying like, you know, well done, mate.
Brilliant.
You know, like previous winners of that award has been the likes of Davey Todd, who is now a senior TT race winner and a top guy at Isle of Man, you know. So that was something quite cool.
David's doing really well, and himself and Hickey put together a good team. A good team.
Absolutely.
It was a pity about Hickey this year, but as I said, in 24, when you went boys there, the lads, and they've said it to me this year. Oh, we're watching out for Kevin this year, and you know, you didn't disappoint. It was great, and it's a massive achievement. Just to put it into perspective, the guys that are up in the 130s and all that, they're not on their third TT. They're not on their second TT. They've been around a while, you know. Like,
yeah, absolutely. You know, they're around years, like, you know. So, but I think, did I hear correctly this year? There's only like 9 or 10 people in the 130 mile an hour bracket. I think there's only like like there's 9 or 10 people who have cracked
It's,
130 mile an
yeah,
hour.
what would you say, a unique club, with
Yeah,
those people there.
so
And like I gone back I remember seeing Hislop and these guys racing around. I remember when John McGuinness did the first 130.
yeah,
I think
it's rough.
no, it's not that long ago, but like it, it's so hard to explain to people, Kevin. Unless you've
Yeah, it
been
really
there,
is.
unless you've ridden around the island. I've done loads of laps myself, not at your pace, but going
Yeah.
around as a general punter. But it's hard. Now I went over the island, or over the mountain hard enough.
Mm.
I won't say it on air what I was doing because my wife would kill me. But anyway, it's hard to be. You have so many corners, you have so many little bumps, you have the camber
Yeah,
on the road is different. You have to watch everything. So
yeah,
to
it's
get up,
nuts, That's like people always say to me, like, like how hard is it? And I'm just like, simplest way of explaining it to someone who doesn't know is just send them out their gate, turn left, and go as hard as you can, 37 and a quarter mile, and get back to your gate.
yeah, trying to
That's
do.
just it, innit? But
Because
no, it's
you have everything. We spoke about the wind. You have your boards. You have things coming out field, dogs running across.
yeah,
We had
yeah,
we had
yeah.
we had incidents with idiots this year running down the road. So just to let the punters know that the Manx is it's the same as Kevin was saying. It's the same island, same everything else. Is run later in the year. It's not as big as event as a TT, but it is getting fairly big, and it's become a major part of the racing season now. It's running at the end of August, I think, Kevin, isn't it? This end of August, no. So your sponsors then, so you have leather sponsors, you have a new one now for this year, I think, which is good, which is good. So a lot of people behind you, but you do need all these guys behind you just to make it work for you,
Oh yeah,
to,
absolutely. Like,
to put your mind at ease. That's what they do.
it's definitely not a one-man show. It looks like that when you're out on circuit because you're the only one sitting on top of the bike, but there's so much more that goes on, like it's between Dark or preparing bikes, my mechanic Stevie and Owen this year, them lads. Them preparing bikes weekend out to make sure we're right coming towards TT. Then my personal sponsors, like you said there's leather sponsors, which was Cotter Motorcycles at the minute, is a fucking Ballymount.
Simon and the
Yeah,
boys. They're good
Simon and the
skins in
boys.
there, aren't they?
Brilliant. But
They're
you want
great,
thick skin going in.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, you was, yeah. They give me a
But
terrible time, I live in Kildare, you're in. We're like, I don't know, we're a different breed going up to them
the
boys.
hillbillies going in
Yeah,
there.
coming in, yeah. But put your
But
tractor outside,
yeah, but no, best in the world,
good skins.
Simon and the team have looked after me. Oh, it's nearly 10 years now. So yeah, no, amazing to have them.
Yeah,
And then you have our local sponsors like, Tony Moore, motorcycle training.ie. Not sure if you know Tony,
yeah.
but Tony
I know
runs
Tony.
a very reputable motorcycle school, and FJS and DV Coatings, and yeah,
FJS or
the
plant
plant.
machinery.
Yeah, plant machinery over there, actually in Kildare as well. So, you have DB Coatings, you have the Johnny Out the Road. I mean, the new sponsor this year from Dial Man List It, which is a new buy and sell website, and that. Yeah, we've got loads of guys on board, really good, strong,
So these
strong
guys are
sponsor.
all behind you, and this is what Kevin was talking about, folks. He's going out and representing himself, but he has all these guys who are sticking behind him, and that's what makes the road racing a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of sponsors come to watch the weekends. Like you have Paul Dolly, Dolly Plantire as well. He comes and he watches and supports, and he was actually at TT this year as well. And who else at TT? Oh, my other sponsor, out on property, John. He's actually based at auctioneers in Kilcullen and Dublin. He was at
Yeah,
TT this year, and it was amazing. It
brilliant.
was nice to have
See,
that support, and
it's brilliant seeing them coming through into the paddock, and then you're saying,
yeah,
it's great. It's
yeah.
great. So
It's
they're all
amazing.
behind you. They're
Yeah,
all
it's
behind you,
amazing.
and there's a lot of orange coats behind you as well. Out there. So
Appreciate,
this is good. Yeah, this is
appreciate,
good.
yeah.
So, Kevin, look, we're coming near the end of it. I just a few little things. So we'll go on. The double probably would that be your biggest achievement, or would it be that first step meeting Milky and going down? Like what do you think? What would you put it? The double was a huge achievement. Like
Double would be huge, and I think standout ones at the minute was probably my first British Superstock 600 win at Silverstone. I was the first ever winner on the new 636 Kawasaki that was only launched that year in 2022, and I was the first person to win on the Kawasaki in the world on the 636.
It's brilliant.
So that was quite cool. I think getting to 125 this year TT, that was awesome too. There's a few standout ones. The double was cool as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's probably a good one as well. Double champion of
Listen,
two premier classes.
That's like, you've had a lot of them, and my friend, I hope you have hundreds more, and we're going to be shouting out. So the next, say, 5 years, what's the major plan? You gave us a little bit of an insight into what you're hoping to do this year and the next 2 or 3 years. So the next 5 years, what's the goal like?
Next 5 year, I'd love to branch myself back into the British Superbike Paddock, along with doing the international roads, so prioritising more like the Northwest and TT. So that'd be a long-term plan, is to maybe make a few quid out of it and be able to focus more solely riding the motorbike and not have to do your day job. So yeah, over the next 5 years, I'd love to obviously step up to TT, meet that 130 bracket mark, start being a name at the Isle of Man, rather than just a rider, and be known for being there, make a name for myself in the back of the British Championship, and hopefully make motorcycle racing the job.
Yeah, brilliant. I hope I make really quickly. I'm just going to Glenn Irwin. He came over. I think it was the year before you, 23. I was there watching him.
Yeah,
it could be 23 or 24.
23, I think. 22, I think, was it? I'm sure, yeah.
The guys like, Glenn was coming in, unbelievable. But I really personally think, if you can get that, if you can do this, as your full-time job, racing in the BSB, I can see the difference in the likes of Davey, Hickey, the guys that are doing it week in, week out.
Absolutely.
Compared to the other. I know Michael doesn't really, although he's doing a bit of enduro stuff now as well. So
yeah, he does a lot of world endurance stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you can see on the track, but you can see the difference, and now more and more riders are started doing that. They're branching. They're branching into it too. But you can sort of see the difference in these guys coming in, especially Davey, and Hickey.
Yeah.
But that's it, Kevin. Listen, I've really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed
being on it.
Yeah, and I'm going to put up. So what we'll do is we'll get the links. So we'll put the links up to your sponsors, your own Facebook page, and we'll hopefully, maybe when you hit the 130, we'll get you back on.
Absolutely,
or when you write that book, Kevin. When you write that book.
Yeah, I'd say hopefully the 130 will be sooner we think. So I think the book will be later on.
We'll get it in. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thanks.
So look at folks, Kevin Keys, and keep an eye out. Watch it out. The Irish Championship, are you go back in short circuit this year, next year? Are you gonna give it a shot?
If something happens, yeah, I probably will show up and do one or two. But I think at the minute, after last weekend or 2 weekends ago, we stepped our toe back into BSB with Dargor. I think the boys got a liking for it, so I think we're going to probably focus more on that end of things. But no, definitely, if there is racing back here in Ireland, I'll definitely love to show up, and
we'll keep an eye out. And she'll look at. I'll see you on the island next year anyway.
Oh, absolutely, I'll see me there anyway.
Yeah, great having you on, Kev. Look, at best of luck, and enjoy the rest of the year, Christmas, the whole lot. We'll see you on the island next year. Ladies and gentlemen,
thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Best of luck.